While Dennis was working on his dream car in the garage, Dennis's son Nick dramatically interrupted him. He claimed that he had found a hidden house on the property and that there was something terrifying in it. He could clearly see that his son was frightened by what he had seen because he could barely speak. Dennis, therefore, decided to investigate it and see if his son was telling the truth. But Dennis didn't know that what was hidden in that abandoned house would turn his life upside down. Before we start, smash the like button and make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell so that you won't miss any new stories. Dennis and Nick traveled by foot from Dennis's farm to the house. Dennis didn't believe Nick because he knew every square meter of his land and assumed he should have noticed something as big as a house. However, his son was still in tears, so it might be true. But what can be in that house, Dennis thought. Due to Dennis's enormous property, it took a while to reach the house. After they'd been walking for an hour, Dennis wondered if taking the quad would have been a better option. But it was already too late now, and they were almost there, according to Nick. "Just a few minutes," he said. Dennis then noticed some never-before-seen markings on trees as they got closer to the house. It must have been someone else. Maybe his son Nick was telling the truth after all. When they were almost at the house, things even got stranger. Dennis and Nick spotted a lot of trash on the side of the road, and this was extremely rare because nobody usually travels this far on Dennis's property. Every minute, Nick's story became more believable, and then Nick screamed, "There it is!" Dennis couldn't believe what he was seeing. There was indeed an abandoned house on his property. Nick was telling the truth, after all. Dennis indicated that it was probably hidden for a reason, and his assumption would be confirmed just moments later. Dennis was curious about what could be in the house because it was quite clear that the meaning of the location was supposed not to be found, so there must be something hidden in there. So Dennis said to Nick, "Stay here, son. I am going into the house." Dennis approached the house, and all of a sudden he heard a loud bang. Dennis was startled and jumped backward 2 meters. It looked like someone inside the house was hitting on something which seemed like a metal door, but surely no one will bet here, Dennis thought. Dennis was quite frightened by the loud bang, and when he looked back, he saw Nick running away. He didn't want his son to get lost on the property because it was already getting late, so he needed to get Nick back to the house to see what was inside that house. Dennis yelled at his kid to stop running, but Nick kept running and refused to listen. It took a while before Dennis came closer because this kid was running like his life depended on it. Nick might have already known what was in the house because he was so terrified. Finally, Dennis grabbed his son and took him into his arms. "It's okay, Nick. Just take it easy." He felt Nick's body shaking, and it took a moment for the boy to calm down. Dennis told his son that they should go back and find out what was in that house. Nick still felt afraid and didn't want to return to the house. "What have you seen in that house?" Dennis asked. Nick was stuttering and couldn't give an answer to his question. It took a while before Dennis could calm his son down, but he was calm after a while, and they walked back to the house. Dennis and Nick walked back to the house, and Dennis didn't lose sight of Nick because he didn't want him to run away again. Dennis was still soaked in sweat after chasing his son, so he continued to try to calm Nick down while keeping a careful eye on him. It was just a few minutes to get back to the house. After several minutes of walking, they arrived at the house. Dennis was just really curious about what could be hidden inside that house. But aside from that, he was also cautious since he remembered the loud bang that had just happened moments earlier. Dennis was very careful as he approached the house because he knew he had to be alert. He looked back to see if his son was still there. And yes, he was behind a tree, and he could see that the boy was scared. Dennis turned his sights back to the house. He would finally see what was in that house. As soon as he got into the house, a terrible scent forced Dennis to take 2 steps backward. He covered his nose with his hands as he approached the house again. And there he saw it, and it immediately gave him chills. He had never before witnessed something like this. It was a skeleton, but it wasn't just that. It held a box with a letter saying, "Never open this box. It will bring the world into great danger. Get rid of it." This was creepy, Dennis thought. However, he could hear a voice in his head telling him to open this box. So many questions went through Dennis's mind. Why was this skeleton protecting this box? It was like he was giving his life to protect that box. Dennis needed to know what was inside that box. He questioned whether he should call the police or investigate it himself. Dennis decided to leave the skeleton where it was and maybe call the police tomorrow or so. First, he wanted to know what was in that box. He decided to investigate it himself, but it was already getting late, so he told Nick that they would walk back home. As Dennis and Nick walked back, Dennis couldn't think of anything but what could be in that box. Then he looked at Nick and saw that Nick was still frightened by the skeleton he just saw. Dennis understood that it scared him. It gave him chills himself, so why not his 8-year-old son? They finally got home, and Dennis immediately explained what had happened in the middle of the forest to his wife, Monica. Monica listened intently, and then she looked Dennis in the eye and said, "You're kidding me, right?" Dennis immediately said no and quickly grabbed the box to show it to Monica. Monica was startled when she saw the box with the terrifying letter on it. Dennis explained that he wanted to open the box himself, but that was instantly refused by Monica, who demanded that he need to call the police. Dennis disagreed with his wife's choice and said there might be something valuable in that box. Monica replied that they did not know what was in it and that it could be something very dangerous given the note on the box. It says for a reason. Contents of the box put the world in much danger. Dennis refused to listen to Monica. "I'll open it in the morning. Let's go to sleep now. I don't want to argue with you." Monica looked very angry, but she knew that arguing with Dennis would not work. Tomorrow morning, he would open that box. Dennis woke up early because he was too excited to finally open that box. He believed that the box might contain something extremely valuable that would make this family very rich. He went to the garage and was going to take the box when all of a sudden it wasn't there. Where is it? Dennis went searching and tossed the whole garage. He knew he had put it here yesterday. After searching for an hour without success, but then he recalled that Monica had strongly forbidden him from opening the box. She has something to do with this, Dennis thought. Dennis quickly went to Monica and asked her where she had left the box. Monica replied that she had called her father and that he had also indicated that they should give it to the police, so Monica took it to the police station. Dennis was furious at Monica. "How can you do this?" he shouted. "I'm going to get it back." Dennis went to the garage to get the keys to his car. He wanted to get to the police station as soon as possible. Maybe they had already opened it, and he didn't want that. He was just about to leave when he heard sirens in the distance. He went outside and saw several police cars approaching his house, 6 of them. Confused, Dennis stepped forward, but before he could speak, everything went wrong. "Freeze!" officers shouted, pointing their guns. Dennis raised his hands, stunned as they declared he was under arrest. Shocked and terrified, he could only think it must be about that mysterious box. He hadn't done anything wrong, so why were they arresting him? Suddenly, he heard crying. It was Monica. "Why would you arrest him?" "He returned the box!" she screamed, trying to reach him. 4 officers grabbed her, forcing her to the ground. Dennis begged her to calm down, hoping this nightmare would soon end. Inside the police car, Dennis tried asking about the box, but no one answered. When they arrived at the station, everyone looked at him with contempt, as though he were a criminal. He was thrown into a filthy cell and told to wait for questioning. The cold walls and smell of damp concrete made his skin crawl. An hour later, an officer pulled him out roughly and escorted him to the interrogation room. The grip on his arm was tight, the tone hostile. Sitting across from several officers, Dennis tried to remain calm. He had to choose his words carefully. Anything he said could be used against him. One officer shouted, "Where did you get that box? It's centuries old and dangerous." Dennis explained again how his son Nick had found a hidden house, and inside it he discovered a skeleton and that box. They didn't believe him until Dennis suggested they inspect his property. "You'll find the hidden house yourselves," he said. The officers agreed and locked him back in the cell. Hours passed as Dennis wondered what could be inside that box. If it truly was dangerous, that might explain their reaction. After 4 long hours, the officers returned. They confirmed seeing the hidden house and the skeleton, proving Dennis had told the truth. Relieved, Dennis was brought back to the interrogation room. "You saw it right?" he asked. "I'm not a suspect anymore?" They nodded. The chest indeed came from that hidden house. But a new question arose. What was inside it? Was it truly dangerous? Or had the letter been a hoax? The officers hesitated before admitting they had already opened the box. That was why he'd been arrested. But they refused to tell him what they found. Dennis demanded to know. After exchanging tense glances, the officers agreed on one condition. He had to sign a document promising never to reveal what they told him. Driven by curiosity, Dennis signed. Finally, they revealed the truth. Inside the box was a living insect carrying multiple infectious diseases so lethal it could wipe out humanity. The creature had somehow survived through the centuries. Dennis sat frozen in disbelief, realizing how close he had come to unleashing a catastrophe. Relief washed over him. He hadn't opened the box. At last, Dennis was released. He stepped out into the cool air, overwhelmed but grateful to be free. As he returned home to Monica and their son Nick, he knew one thing for certain: some mysteries are better left unopened.